Hello, everybody. How are you doing today? My name is Tony Rizano, and you're listening to another episode of the world famous the University Love, the best podcast in one, two, three galaxies. But ladies and gentlemen, you and I, we just call the show Online Marketing Moves. We are coming to you live today. Today is Tuesday, July the 14th, 13th, something like that. I think today is the 14th. But ladies and gentlemen, we have a very exciting show for you today. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if you know this or not, but this is the only show that is not compromised, okay? In the podcast world. Most podcasts suck. Most podcasts are just nonsense. Most are, bought and paid for. But this show is independent, okay? We do independent thinking. We are independent, okay? But with that being said, we almost got 1,000 episodes. So if anybody wants to cut that big $2 million paycheck, Netflix, Spotify, we are up for sale, okay? Somebody come with the $3 million. You'll have 1,000 episodes, okay? But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, today we're gonna talk about something very important. We're gonna talk about finding the right partner, okay, in business, okay, not in life, in business. Okay. Just because you're married to somebody does not mean you might not be the greatest business partners. Okay. Life partners, yes. Business partners, no, it does not always work that way. And the reason why I bring this up is because today my wife, she was annoyed with something. I don't know. Uh, but she said, see, man, this is why we can't do a business together. And I thought to myself, that's perfectly fine with me, okay? Because we got two different styles of how we work. We got two, we get the job done, but we got two completely different ways of going about it. And my wife gets annoyed with me, blah, 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 blah. And that's all right. And I told her that's fine with me. I was gonna make you my administrative assistant, but since you do not want to work for Tony Rizano Incorporated, you are fired. Okay, so you know, um, I need an administrative assistant, okay? It won't be my wife. My wife is no longer employed with the company, okay? With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, all jokes aside, you gotta find, there are people you can work with, there are people that you cannot work with, ladies and gentlemen. You do not want to get stuck with the wrong partner when it comes to doing business. And why do I say that? Because um it could be like a 10-pound stone on your ankle, okay? It could be a noose around your neck, okay? It can hinder you. It could slow you down. It could cramp your style, okay? And you're so busy fighting one another or fighting each other, and that's the same as one another, but you are into it with each other all the time and nothing's ever getting done, okay? You do not want that. Me, myself, I'm more like to work alone. I could always use somebody to work with, but um I'm definitely not upset that my wife said we can't work together. I said, hey, that's perfectly fine with me. But I kind of like to work alone. I could always use some help with with the website or booking appointments for you know the podcast and things like that. And I know I need help with that when it comes to that because I get a lot of inquiries about being a guest on the show, and sometimes I see them, and then sometimes I don't. Sometimes they fall through the cracks. So I had to go back this weekend and look at all the people who said they want to be guests, and then I had to make that happen and start booking actual people to be on the show so we can roll forward. But eventually, somebody will be in charge of all that. Somebody will do all that, and I would be able to. That'd be one less thing I have to worry about. So you need people, you can always work alone, but you always need people for whether it be, paperwork or, I mean, you don't want to be out here running a business trying to do your taxes and all that. You can't do everything by yourself, but at the same time, there are sometimes in the business you can go at it alone or you can have other people. Some people like to work together. Some people they work well together. Some husband and wives they work well together. Some do not. Okay, it just depends. Some people you meet sometimes I'll give you a story. One time, it was four people. It was me and it was basically three of my cousins. And we all decided we were gonna start a lawn care business. Okay. So we had a lawnmower, we had gas, and everybody was talking, and some people was trying to price gas, some people was trying to go too low, and it was just like four people in this lawn care business. We ain't gonna get nowhere. And then it could decide on when we gonna start, who house we gonna knock on. It was just a bunch. It was dead in the water before we even got started. By the time we went from the store to by the time we got back to somebody's house, that business was already done. Four people in the lawn care business, that's too many people, okay? And so that was that. But I said I'm saying all that to say you gotta find the right people when it comes to business. You gotta make sure you are tuned in because sometimes you'll be with somebody and at first it seems good, but then the real personality comes out. So you always gotta be mindful. You always gotta be keeping in contact, keeping in touch. Hey, what do you think? How do you feel? People have strengths, people have weaknesses. You don't want to have two people that are great at the same thing and both of you lacking in another. Sometimes you want to have somebody who's great at this, and you're great at that. And you might be a little weak with this, or they might be better with that. It works out. And just like me and my wife. My wife, she likes to talk about, she says, "Oh, I'm good with keeping up with stuff, keeping up with paperwork, keeping up with people, with everybody's social security number, the passport, this, that, and the other, and my wife is not. So I keep up with all that stuff. Um, I keep up with that kind of stuff. And then my wife, she says that when it comes to cleaning the house, she says, "Oh, you straighten up, but you don't clean." So my wife is in charge of cleaning the house. Okay. So it's a symbiotic, it's a kumbaya kind of thing. Of course, I'm great at cleaning the house. She doesn't like she likes the way she cleans. She doesn't like the way I clean. But yeah, I'm just kidding. Don't worry, ladies and gentlemen. This is not a pick on my wife there, okay? I'm just giving her a hard time. But you want to get somebody who they don't have to be the complete polar opposite of you, but sometimes some people are great at being more of the front man, some people are great at being more of the back end. Some people are great at building websites, some people are great at showing you the website, some people are great at presenting, some people are great at the phone. It just depends. This is why picking the right partner can make or break you sometimes. Okay. You want to, Steve Jobs was the front man of the band, and Steve Wozniak was the one, chips and all that kind of stuff, putting together this, putting together that. I mean, listen, Steve Jobs was great at, telling people what he needed, telling people what he wanted, and then they would, kind of put it together. That's a great kumbaya kind of thing. Um, you don't have to be great at everything. You don't have to be great at everything to make it in life, to make it in business. Be great at something. You don't have to be great at everything. Always try your best. Even if you are lacking in certain areas. Try. And if you're not, it's just like if you can make $1 million, but you don't know how to do your taxes, don't try to save some money by doing your own taxes. Just let somebody else do your taxes. Uh, things of that nature. Whatever you're not great at, if you're not great at laundry, and you make pretty good money, take your clothes to the laundromat and let them wash and fold them, and then bring them back. And that's one less thing you have to worry about. And so I'm telling you, business is like life. Okay, uh, it is. Um, in life, we don't have to be, being a parent, there are some things that I have no patience for, and there are some things I'm very patient with. And it's the same with my wife. My wife has patience for some things, and some things she doesn't have patience for. Like when my daughter is telling the story or making up something, and I'll sit there and listen, and I'm like, okay, okay. And my wife is like, "Yeah, all right, child, come on, child, that don't make no sense. Don't do that." And I'm just like, "Yeah." Sometimes it's nonsense, but I don't mind. I don't mind listening. And I don't have much patience for my when my daughter has Like, she's like, "Oh man, it's thundering. I'm scared." And it's just like, what are we scared of? What are we scared about? Like, come on now. And I tell her, we aren't scared of anything. Okay, we aren't scared of nothing. And my wife is like, "Oh, I'll go in the room with you." Blah blah blah. So once again, you see how that works. So we have regretted some things, but not great at others. My wife says sometimes I'm not the greatest with emotion. Understanding people's emotions and feelings and being sympathetic. Uh, Maybe I'm not because me, I'm always like, hey, there's always another day. There's always the next day. People there's been a lot of people that I know, people that I've been around and they passed, and people that I know and have people close to them, they pass. And in my mind, I'm like, hey, it's tough, but there's always a new day. There's always tomorrow. And then eventually eventually we all got a day where it's gonna be and somebody's gonna be sad. But I would tell the people, like my daughters, I would tell them, listen, whatever happens to me, it's gonna be okay. You're gonna be okay. Of course, you're gonna miss me as I'm gonna miss you because I will not be able to contact you in the physical sense. Okay, but we have our memories. We have our time together. We've had our moments together, and that goes for anybody. I think about my cousin. He passed away when he was 40. Think about my other cousin. She passed away when she's 50, and even though my cousin she was 50, as kids, of course, she was older than me, so we didn't get a chance to hang out as much. But as adults, we got to spend more time together during the family reunion. So I think about that, every now and then I think about my cousin, and I'm like, oh man, I miss her. But we had time together, and I know that you know it's life and it happens, and so I say all that to say, listen, man, when it comes to business. There's gonna be ups, there's gonna be downs, there's gonna be highs, there's gonna be lows. One of the most important things you can do, ladies and gentlemen, is picking the right people. You want to get people who see a vision. You want to get people that understand what you're trying to do, where you're coming from. You don't want to get people who's always going to be like, I don't know about this, I don't know about that. It's like, hey, man, you're not looking for zombies, you're not looking for robots, you're not looking for yes people, but what you're looking for is you're looking for a group of people who understand what you're trying to do, who understand where you want to go, and who can help you get to the place that you want to be. Okay. You don't want to always have to be doing the opposite. I had a friend one time, he wanted to write a script and he asked a young lady, "Hey, can you help me out?" And she said, "Sure." And he said, "Hey, have you ever watched Seinfeld? Can you watch a few episodes?" Because he wanted to do some stuff for Seinfeld. And she's like, "Do I have to?" And he's like, "What's the whole point? If I'm trying to write a Seinfeld like because he bought a set, he's gonna do like an animation kind of deal." And he said, if I bought a Seinfeld set and I'm trying to do like a little animation, you know, with the Seinfeld set, and you never seen the episode, what's the point of you being. She's like, "Well, I can watch something else. I don't have to watch that." And he was like, "Why are you trying to argue with me about it?" And I was like, "See, those are the kind of people you don't want to work with, Like, why are you trying to oppose, like what's the big deal? Watch the show or don't be involved in the project. It's not that hard. And so you want to get people who are in the same, atmosphere. You want to get people who are on the same boat as you. You don't have to be lock and step with everything, but you do want to be you do want to get to the point where it's like, hey man, let's hunker down together. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it. Okay. Everybody's not going to be in business with you, and that's okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we will be back tomorrow with all new episode of Online Marketing Moves. And ladies and gentlemen, if you're one of these people who have contacted me, I apologize. I will check my emails. I will make a list. I will check it twice. I will get back to you, and we will start doing interviews. In the coming weeks. All right. I appreciate your patience. I appreciate your time. Thank you for listening. God bless each and every one of you. If you want to email me, you can always email me at tony@tonyrosano.com. Um, you can always reach out. You can reach out through the show. You can reach out through the email. One day I put my phone number on there. Okay. But until in between time and in the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. God bless each and every one of you. And as always, everybody, peace.